Good evening, everyone. Welcome to From the Left with Stephen Leon. And my name is Stephen Leon. I'm running for the House of Representatives here in Virginia's 8th District. We've got a lot going on from the assassination attempt from Trump yesterday. I'm sure whether you're a supporter of his or not, just feeling that out, not knowing where we're going to go with this. This show is mostly about unseating the incumbent, Don Beyer. He's been our representative since 2015, seeking a sixth term, and I'm going to show you why he needs to be unseated. Yeah. So, and then if there's any more time, I'll just kind of spitball with. Well, that's actually what this is about. That's what unseating Don Beyer, and then what's left, right? We would have my plan. It's the most dominant out of anyone else's. You would know that if you would just be open-minded and see how, I don't spend much time, listening to everything Biden says. I'll plug in and everything, and everyone's calling for unity. Well, let's actually think like one. Let's actually be constitutionally honest, because the way that parties have gathered up and have divided us, and it's just, again, just feeling this stuff out. So what do these ideas look like? Well, running as independent, the requirements for that. There's no fee required. You got to get 1,000 signatures. I worked my tail off. I hired some independent contractors from Craigslist. I went outside a party and I received this letter from the Virginia Department of Elections. It says, Mr. Leon, this letter is to inform you that you did not fulfill all the requirements of a House of Representatives District 8 candidate as outlined in Virginia's code, blah, 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 blah. Out of 1,000 signatures, I submitted 1,086, 599 qualified signatures. So that's a big boo. I did 455 of those myself, and you know that I record it every single time I approached anybody. If they came to my clipboard, if I went at a farmer's market, if I went door to door, and I assured them before they signed that, are you a registered voter in the 8th district? I gave all these materials to my canvasser. So what it tells me is that that's what I'm following on. Now, to be fair, the only way to really find out which of my canvassers didn't measure up, there's a circulator thing that we get notarized, and I'd have to find out. But I'm pretty sure that there's no other reason. I'm sure they didn't follow instructions and things like that. Does that make me less of a candidate that I shelled out my own 4 or 5 grand to hire some people, going outside a party, talking to? That's the way it was. They responded to my ad, and then talked to them on the phone. Can you meet me at a farmer's market? They're like, yeah. I sent them materials. A little trainer, and I met them the next day with a clipboard and everything like that. And I gave them incentives, like $20 an hour. You know what I mean? If you can at least get, what was it? Like, I can't remember. There's how many signatures? At least 4 or 5 an hour came out to. Anyways, I can post that later on social media to show you what I gave every single one of my. I'm going to move on from this now. That means I have to be written in. Right. And working with the other 2 independent candidates, one of them that I support. There are a couple of other. But these 2 guys, other than myself, David Kennedy and Bentley Hensley. To keep it simple, David Kennedy's got a financial analyst background. That's his skill set. And then Bentley Hensley has a technical product manager. So if you combine those skill sets with mine as an intellectual property law, I'm not an attorney. I'm a paralegal. I've been doing it 15 years. I've worked at 3 law firms. I have 2 patents myself. So I can push an idea through a federal institution and have it come out. Right. And some of the things that I'm working on, they have their own polling. I've adopted third-party organizations and things like this. So really, let's dive right in. Let's see why Don Beyer should be unseated. And let me say one last thing. That is another challenge for me to run as an independent and as a write-in. And that's why I really need to work with these other 2 guys. And if I were to win, then I would totally offer them a position in the office, combine their skill sets, give them equal access to their platforms, because a lot of it coincides, and also anything else that would come up, and then also give them equal media attention. So you would become, if I were to be elected, I get the final say, right? But I would totally offer them. I hope they would do the same for me. So, because I have no problems just coming straight at you. If all I have right now is social media, that's what I've been doing. Every single post of Don Byers, and I'm going to show you why. Let's go ahead and move on. I think I'm gonna need to, yeah, the easiest thing, and I kind of organized this self, is to um, go right to my website. I'm gonna share my screen. And then if you go to, it always does this. Oh, heavens. There's always this, the share screen hides my toolbar. God, that's so annoying right now. Like I can't move my toolbar because this darn thing is in the way. Look at this. Yikes. How does it do this? So maybe if I go ahead and just click on that. Yeah, okay. Oh, have to work. So moving on for Congress. Make sure that's .us because someone else is out there. Oh, what a joy. Oh, look, I can write that right there. Perfect. Okay. Go to this view presentation. Click on that. And this one's a little outdated. I did my first town hall. No one showed up. You know what I mean? I went to the neighborhood I was from and I delivered a whole bunch of flyers, but I did get some virtual tenancies. So I mean, this is pretty much outlines the gist. This right here, this one page should be enough to sell you on why he shouldn't be. So I've always voted for the guy myself, and after being his opponent, I'm shocked what I've learned. And even then, like I posted something a couple years ago, and I was like supporting him. I was like, and then and I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that like I was ignorant. I was it. And this has taught me, I think I wrote that right in here. This has taught me to always consider all the candidates in any race and practice diligence and prudence with media literacy and research to include self-checking our biases and stuff like that. And to be fair, I was growing politically myself to understand what's going on, what the real problems are. And a lot of that is money in politics and a bunch of other stuff. Corporate greed is buying us out, and Don Beyer he just so anyways. Don Beyer is seeking sixth term. This link right here goes to represent us, and you can see Jennifer Lawrence right there. She's a chairwoman. We're not going to listen to that whole thing because it's a 10-minute video. Don't want to waste that time. Do that on your own, please. And you'll see how they're spending 70% of their time campaigning and fundraising and tap dancing and things like that. And only 30% of what matters to anybody has a chance of actual resolution, even if it has 100% public support. This was developed back in 2013 by a former FEC chairman. It's been professed by constitutional scholars. Harvard studies have been on it. This thing has a 90% approval, the American Anti-Corruption Act, across party lines. And that's what does unity look like? It comes through being honest. So really, that'll back up that no matter what he says, he has a 30% chance of solving any. All of them are like that, right? And even if you try to come in and you realize, and you knew that, if you didn't have something to resolve it like that American Anti-Corruption Act, then it's just going to stay the same. In 2009, Don Beyer was an ambassador to Switzerland. Which you would suspect has something to do with his financial experience, to how he's doubled his net worth to 124 million since being our representative. Click on that link, and you'll see right there. This goes to Open Secrets. That is a credible source. You see right there in 215, right up to 124 million. And he hasn't acknowledged how that happens. It's stock, and Don Beyer was a car dealership. His family owned that, and I have fun with that. I call him Sam Beauregard. From Willy Wonka. You just see the way, like, it's interesting, like why Roald Dahl, or at least in the movies, they would have him, or yeah, even then. I read the book too. Yeah, that's what he was. The car salesman in the book. I remember the movie. Anyways, so yeah, just interesting how they use the car salesman and that Sam Beauregard, and then having a politician too. What kind of cliche would you possibly have? What is he selling? No, that's just he just got put in through the party system, and he's just a templated kind of guy. He doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to say no in his own party. He doesn't know how. He wants you to like him. This Virginia's 8th district is right across the river. I'm from here, right? Like, if I have plenty of friends and things like that, you know what I mean? I'm just going to fight for what is constitutional. So if you want a friend, get a dog. You know what I mean? It's just his whole demeanor, how he's so superficial, nice, putting on a show, and then all this stuff that we're getting to here. So like you're right there, boom, that's questionable right there. Doubling your net worth on, right? And then moving on to this. So that leads further suspicion that he lacks certain motivation for any policy when capitalized, no matter which way it would go with all those stock trades. It wouldn't matter. Where's his motivation, right? So as evidence to his stock trading right here. So if you go, this is capital trades, another. Look at, this is just only the last 3 years. So you can see the volume, you can see all the different types of state of Washington. He's investing in the state of Washington, Board of Education, all this stuff. It just goes on and on. That's, yeah, you go explore trades and you can choose show 96 listings. Again, this is just the past 3 years. Look at that. There's 2 pages like that. Right. This is why we want to ban Congress from stock trading, because you're going to buy you out. In 2019, Don Beyer appeases donors instead of progressive policy without rational argument. And this was about the Medicare for All. And someone that he interned for made this, again, Truth Out is another credible source. You can check that on Ad Fonus Media bias chart, completely impartial. They don't, it's completely impartial. You just go look at the methodology. So that's how I know that this is a credible source. And just how they look at things. So yeah, it's how I saw how establishment Democratic ideology is painfully corrupt and at odds with progressive voter aspirations. Oh God, I remember this woman tried to sign. She at Westover Markets, a farmers market. I went to Swanson Middle School, so it was really cool to have that experience. And that's just cool. I ran into a high school friend. Like, oh, look at me! Like, I would never have imagined that I would even try to run for the House of Representatives when I was in middle school. So, anyways, when I got her to my clipboard and when I even mentioned corruption, she quickly kind of took a step back and ran away, completely afraid to maybe acknowledge that. Now, Trump pointing the finger at Democrats because we're the problem is very highly hypocritical. It's on both sides. We want to get the money out of politics. That's what it is. We don't want to judge our personalities so much. I mean, people are human, and that doesn't justify any kind of assassination or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, you got to recognize what corruption is. Okay, so you can read that. You can see how he appeased a donor over Medicare for All. And I mean, if you looked at the numbers, like the Medicare for All, the payer system that they're talking about there, it would raise taxes a little bit, right? You'd have to look at just Google that Medicare for All reasons, or just all the pros and cons of it. And so if we were to tax the rich, we might be able to pay for that. But there's so many other things. But the fact that this is what he does later. So that was in 2019. If you look at the date on that article, it was in May 8th. And then right here, not even a month later in the chamber, he says this, if you can hear this.
In the history of mankind. I'm baffled about how the richest nation in the history of mankind, with low unemployment, a strong economy, virtually no government corruption, cannot afford to do what every other developed nation in the world can do. What's wrong with the United States that we can't provide the basic level of care that every other country's figured out how to do? And especially when we're the champion of human rights, life, liberty,
blah, blah, blah. Go check that video out. He's talking about Medicare for All right there. He doesn't, even in his own, he doesn't mention no virtual corruption right here in his own dictation, because he's corrupt. He's afraid to identify corruption, because then that would mean he would have to go or sell all the stocks, something like that, right? The thing about one item, the reason why, like, if you were to say why Canada is able to pull off a Medicare for All system, universal health care, well, we have the technology. Anyone that has major surgery over there in the country comes over here. And I know that my partner, she's been in healthcare for, her whole career. In her early 20s, her dad started some things, and then so she started in the mailroom. Now she's something in accounting. Lots of neat stuff there if you're in accounting. So in 2023, did I cover that in that? Yeah, in 2023, Don Beyer returns to school with a focus on artificial intelligence. If you've seen where the numbers are for the 118th Congress, and he just goes back to school, that's highly selfish. I mean, that's no,
you
can make it in this world without college.
Let me just say that I very much appreciate that most people don't have the time to go back to school. I'm now, I can't tell you how much time this gobbles up. I'm just finishing, I have my final exam tomorrow on my Python 3 coding class. And it's astonishing. It's actually really fun. It must be probably the most interesting thing I've done this year is learning how to code at age 73. However, very few people are going to have that privilege.
Yeah, sure. That's the most interesting thing, rather than trying to be better at your job and getting money out of politics and bringing legislation. Again, that there's an exodus to see how many things have passed in this 118th Congress, and even prior to that, like what are these bills are just designed for the corporations, and there's good things in there. You got to hump for them, but really we want to level this fairly with that. Yeah, oh gosh, you know what I mean? Then he does this other interview about AI, and is supposed to be an expert.
Topic of risks. Congressman Beyer, what are you most worried about when it comes to AI? What keeps you up at night?
Well, the short term and the most obvious thing is what it does to creative destruction of jobs. We know there's been a lot of displacement. Sometimes you hear numbers in the 20% of all jobs in the world. Although that's also been true in the agricultural revolution, the technology revolution. We will adapt, but it will be a painful adaptation. The more concerning things, I think, are about election security, about privacy. I don't much worry about the existential risks, although I think it's always important that we pay attention to that because some very smart people are worried about the end of humanity.
He's appeasing the lobbyists. I come from intellectual property law. I look at this very objectively. I look at it as a patent where that title has to be indicative to the claims. If it's, not an Inflation Reduction Act doesn't do that, then why name it that? Okay, so I have totally advocated. That's been my big thing. Yes, we do want to have election security and things like that, but look at this the principle of this information technology and artificial intelligence Act to protect jobs is to strengthen what's most vulnerable. And if you look at this credible source here, IT is going to be the most vulnerable, and that connects to any company. So, with certain company, like if you're doing a side hustle or something like that, and you're a sole proprietor and you start a company and you've got AI or whatever, a company of a certain size, we'd have to talk about that. I don't know if it's 10, 20, where you have at least one person. They don't necessarily have to be an IT pro, but at least if you don't want to replace jobs, combined with a counter discriminatory policy that we can impose with human resources and things like that, then that would protect jobs. They would have a class action lawsuit if you were working at a company that was over 10 people or 20, something like that, and some chief, for whatever cliche reason, decides that you want to go ahead and, if you've been there like a year or two, you've gotten positive reviews and they discover that AI is going to save them or boost their stock, whatever it might be, then they'd have a class action lawsuit on their hands to do that. And the fact that with any discriminatory policy, the fact that we even have it, they won't do it. And again, that would only apply to, you get the proposal suggests mandating certifications, and you click on that, it goes right to Microsoft, and so that's kind of, it's like it's not working with the enemy, it's like working with what it is, you know what I mean? It's a win-win for everybody. And we want to do that proactively. And I'm open to listening to other ideas too, like when it comes to protecting jobs, but as far as the principle of protecting what is most vulnerable, I mean, that makes sense, right? So, and again, this would apply only to certain business entities. It wouldn't apply, like I work for an LLPC, it wouldn't apply. There's no stock, there's no sheets when it comes to, well, no. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm crossing that over from my American Capitalism Protection Act, that where the CEO salary caps, that would be that. We would have to do the thresholds of company size. So for a certain time, that would apply to all business entities if we don't want to replace jobs. So, a lot of this is designed to create the fundamental and then build on top of that. And then let's shoot. Pretty much sticks here. In 2024, Don Beyer makes the pledge that big money is the problem, but then yet he's always campaigned with it. Look at the pledge. I signed the same pledge. He says, tell me, this guy does this with anything. If he talks about climate change or whatever it is, or the economy, he's like part really responsible, and he's not even solving it. He's just, elections and the policy decisions that follow them should be about the best ideas, not the most money. Big money in politics makes a mockery of the democratic ideal of one person, one vote. Did someone in his staff just rubber stamp that? You even think about? So Yeah, he's always campaigned with big money. Go look at all the PAC money that he pays and his net worth. He's never used a single penny of his own money. Look at all that 1.3. That's big money. How do you define big money? You know, I put 4 or 5 grand. Actually, I put another 3 or 4 grand. I have to follow something with FEC tonight. So 9 minutes. Wow. You can see all the different places, open secrets again, all the different monies that he's had. Candidates, self-financing, 0. I made the same pledge. And I'm borrowing this data that I'm saying from American Anti-Corruption Act, from Represent Us and those Harvard studies thing. Most legislators, regardless of party, spend more time raising money than legislating. Consequently, 70% of their time is not dedicated to resolving priority issues of their constituents. So there you go. I've been, it says it right there, freely campaigning with the American Anti-Corruption Act, which has my full independent support. I ranked choice voting in there. It's got ending gerrymandering in there. It's got sending congressional term limits in there, including justices. Read it. Go take a look at that. Just read, do your research. You know, I wonder if you see some of the comments that happen on the right, and you can tell like they're so like smooth with it, whatever it is. It's like they did their homework, they said a couple sentences and they move on, and you're not paying attention to it. And then the left ain't saying anything. It's like you just kind of go with the flow. I get it. We're from the cities, we're busy, we're just trusting. Now let's listen to each other. Okay. It's just that simple. Look at just go to the American Anti-Corruption.org. It's not just a pretty or handsome face with Jennifer Lawrence or Michael Douglas. They've taken their celebrity to a positive with what they've done just to be board members, to be PR for that. It's really cool. So, also Michael Douglas was one of my favorite movies, American President. So yeah, go look at Ballotpedia. You know, you can see all the candidates that are there right now. I mean, again, I'm gonna have to be writing. I'm gonna do some videos. I gotta do a Facebook. It's all I got. I'm gonna do a post, a boost, and have that circulate. I got a meeting with AFL-CIO Thursday for supporting labor unions and stuff like that. So, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I'm still helping. It's so with my agenda outlined on this website, professional experience, you know what I mean? Like I've had people come at me, and like whoever it might be, very confident named Stern, and I had someone early on just be like, somebody, you're cocky with no accomplishments. You didn't even bother to look at my LinkedIn or anything like that to see where I've come from, what I'm doing, where I'm going. You know what I mean? You just never even bothered. You know what I mean? It's like, it's alienating. It is. But I realize that that's just a small, but unfortunately, if nobody speaks up to that, you're just going to believe that. Maybe. I don't know. So that takes care of that portion. I've got 6 minutes. Let's see. I had a bunch more that I wanted to cover. If you go to Don Beyer's Twitter, and I'm just going to go ahead. Every time the economy budges a little bit forward, he reposts like 12 times, you know what I mean? Each and every time all year. Like he had something to do with it, or Joe Biden, and he didn't. The better numbers for the economy is highly driven by consumer spending. And that just provides more jobs and things like that. It's natural. That came out of COVID. You see politicians, how they just try to take credit for it. It's so bad. And the fact that he just does that. And now, like with the recent assassination attempt, he's just kissing Joe Biden's ass. That's all he's doing. He has reposted over and over and over and over. And they're all saying the same thing, political violence. Yeah, let's unify. Let's really do that ideas. You will find that on my plan. You will find that with what I'm working on. I lean left, you know what I mean? But I want understand what it is I'm trying to do. And what is that? What is really being bipartisan? What does that look like? If it's one candidate, that's me. Read this, please. 5 minutes. Let's see how much more coverage. You know, my social media stuff, you know what I mean? I don't see why it would be that controversial. You know what I mean? I'm just, if it's not anything about policy or anything like that, I'm just clowning around trying to get your attention. It really is. You know what I mean? Like I don't, it's just fictional stuff. You know what I mean? I think I attached like a Jay-Z song and Linkin Park, and just, you know, how he's just the way that song goes and the political climate, just trying to get your attention. You know what I mean? I'm not advocating for violence, but I get it. People, that's how it starts. You know what I mean? Get on there. I'm going to come at you and come in directly at you. You know what I mean? You can't, it's not fair to say that because one guy, what's his name? Thomas Crooks. You can't say just because he did what he did, you can't hold the entire left accountable for that. It's not fair. It's like the same thing happened with Kennedy. Just can't do that. You can understand the ideology, maybe, I'm sure that's something that's going on in the right, just, psychologically, for what they might be going through with that. So, what else do I have? Let me see. Key points. I'm pretty sure I covered everything. When he talks about fusion, it's advanced nuclear he wants. He's just trying to make himself look more advanced than he is. If you all the bills that he's co-sponsored, look, it's the ratio of it. It's just he's fine. How are we going to pay for all that stuff? Now, good news is if we get like some interstellar, asteroid space mining tax money from that, then maybe we can afford some of that stuff. But we got a lot of things, and maybe he does that. Maybe he does it when someone says, "Hey, look, I'll write a bill on this. I'll introduce it, but recognize there's a lot of other things going on." Right. But he never asked us if that's what we wanted. I have a digital democracy project, and at least it's there. That can always be used as a template. You know what I mean? You go in there, if someone had an idea, go and check the record, see what we have floating around there, and then combine it or whatever it might be. But the fact that it just makes it look like that he's actually doing his job, that he's a good representative, that he's going back to college, that makes him smart. No, it doesn't. He's stuck on a progress track, and things aren't going to change with him. It's not. You've really got to look at the other independent candidates, myself included, even if I'm a writer. Okay, and that would be historical. That would be really cool. So hopefully people can feel me on that and see where we're going. Maybe I'll get some more media attention on this, and really mainstream media. Fusion, AI, digital democracy projects. Social media. It's a 2D scrolling environment. It's not as sterile as email, but it's easy to kind of, it can get arbitrary and ambiguous and just interpretations of it and frustrating, things like that. I came up with a provisional patent of a 3D environment where we might actually give you more, people might want to see your content more if you were to just pin like 5 things or major things, and then people could just go there. Otherwise, I'm rehashing the same thing or finding different ways to say it, and it's just a scrolling wall. And it's just, and I don't know if you're susceptible to addiction or whatever it is, and it's like I didn't scroll back up. Why is he making me start all over? This should have been the third or fourth. I don't know. Let's see. I think that's it. More on the. We'll see how it goes. I'm doing everything I can. I saw some Kid Rock had done he had an attitude. When I was younger, I liked Kid Rock, but he's getting political and just projecting anger. I was like, well, send me a rhyme then. You know what I mean? Like I'm not messing with Trump. If you think that just the way that he spoke to everyone, kind of, it's like, yeah, I don't support Trump. I'm not voting for him. You know what I mean? And I'll tell you why. It was another show. I've done that plenty of times. But if you want to make it just between me and you, Kid Rock, it's rhyme. I mean, unless you want to do something else, why would you want to do anything else? You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't see, that's just the beginning. Just he reacted very toxic. And again, that guy, Thomas Crook, you know what I mean? We don't want that. I know it's better to have a guy like me coming toe to toe and peaceably with ideas and just listen. And the thing that we have with the division and things like that. Even then, I was Googling last night to stay on top of what happened with Trump. And then I saw something that just last Monday, now the right is starting to go along the lines with Trump with what he's saying about, at least the language in this AP article was putting it more up to the states, not opposing the federal, well, see, that's the way the language that they use. I support at least a federal minimum. And then we can have the states kind of play around with it. If you look on my website, it's here, prenatal volition is what I'm calling it. It's 9:30. I gotta go. Thank you very much. Have a good night, and I will see you next week.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and